But we're here now. So, guys, this is Christopher Gladwell,
Yeah.
and he
Dirty fingers. I've
is.
just been on my allotment.
Oh, it's such an amazing day for it.
Isn't it just?
So, Christopher is an experienced teacher of yogic psychology and well-being. He's a mindfulness coach, a psychotherapist. What else, Christopher? You've got like a
Where do
whole
you begin?
gamut of stuff going on
Yeah,
there.
I've got my wall plastered and certificates. And like, yeah, structural integrator. I've done a lot of different things. Like I did about 16 years of shiatsu and Thai massage and other kinds of body work. So body-based stuff along with yoga as well, and other movement practice. A lot of dance actually, and then previously before that, a lot of martial arts,
Yeah.
qigong, tai chi, that kind of thing. So a lot of movement stuff, and then clinical hypnotherapist, NLP, a lot of different psychological type modalities, and so body, mind, yogic psychology, a lot of meditation practice. I've been in different strands of yoga for about 35 years or so now, different schools, different ways of doing things. So that's been a big part of it, meditation, including Tibetan schools and one thing and another. So, and breathwork. I'm 35 years of breathwork. Breathwork is it. It's the business, really. It's amazing stuff. And then, I'm doing trained with a group called Kayana International, Viola and Michael, beautiful people, really, really lovely people. And that's in a kind of rebirthing called conscious connected breathing. And I've just been working with Stig Severinsen and the Breathology School in Denmark.
Okay.
So that's a fascinating posse. So again, just going deeper and deeper with the different styles and approaches, and of course my background, of course, is a biologist. So a long time ago, I was trained as a biologist. So I like to reference things through evolutionary biology and stuff like that because it gives us Westerners a way of rationalizing and thinking about things sometimes that is sometimes helpful. Yeah, anyway, that's enough about me. That's a lot of talk there, isn't it?
No, I think it's great to have a context for people who are hopping on, and thank you for staying, guys. What we're going to talk about today is, in Christopher's words, taking the breath from domesticated to wild. And I'd love to start, Chris, just by asking, why the breath? We know about the kind of importance of mindfulness and meditation and movement, but why the breath?
Try to stop breathing. It's really simple. Just stop breathing. Everybody hold your breath and stop breathing. Come on, let's do this thing. You ready? Hold your breath.
Anyone gasping yet?
You can do it for a while. Keep going. Yeah, you get the point. Sooner or later, the breath is the most important. There's teachings in the Upanishads about this. I think it was in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I forget which one it was. It might have been Shresthara, I can't remember. But there's talking in there about the breath, and they're talking about what's most important. And all the different body parts say they're going to leave. I'm going to go then. And of course, the breath says that, and all the rest say, no, don't go, don't go. Breathing is the most important aspect of our living existence, other than heartbeat, and the two are inseparable, really. Circulation and breathing, and it's a direct way into mind. It's a direct way into mind. It's a direct way into body. It's a direct way into understanding life energy, or prana, if you prefer to call it that, but life energy, and it's always available. It's always available as a tool of, in terms of mindfulness. You've got mindfulness of breathing, which is so as a mindfulness tool, it's always available. A way to draw us into presence, which is what mindfulness is really. It's a way of bringing us back into presence when we've got caught up in a beta state, caught up in thinking and rationalizing, conceptualizing. So we've got a mindfulness practice just to start with, and then on top of that, we have ways of creating optimum flow, deeper relationships with core identity, ways of increasing well-being. We've got so many strategies and tools with breathwork. It's incredible what we can do in terms of creating resilience and well-being in our system, and optimal states, optimal flow states. So it's I'd say, along with meditation, I think the three go together. I think a body-based practice, somatics, and embodiment practice of some kind, whatever that is for you. And, there are different ways that works for different people, and some kind of contemplative, deep reflective practice, of insight, going deeper into the mind, looking directly into the mind. and the breathwork practice. I think the three fit together so beautifully, and of course that's traditionally what yoga involved. A few other things, but and related disciplines, and they all really have some aspects of that. I mean, if you go to Tibetan systems, they have kumye and yantra yoga and lots of different somatic practices, and breathwork and meditation. Breathwork's in Tibetan yoga as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little bit, yeah.
Great. That's a great introduction, I think, because obviously it's part of a yogic practice, but I think in our kind of daily lives, it's something that we maybe don't bring as much awareness to. And I have a question by Oriana, who asked whether, how does she know when she's fallen into domesticated breathing, as you call it?
I think a bit cheeky with those words. That's right.
Yeah.
Because I think human beings, I think we're so domesticated these days. I'm being cheeky, and I'm being cheeky. But if you look at sheep, their brain size has diminished since they've become domesticated, and I don't think that's quite happened to human beings yet. But we live in these little coops called cities, chicken coops, and we sort of little runs that we do, little habituated runs through life. And I think there's a lot of ways that we just don't reach optimum at all. And I think there are very simple ways of touching back into the profound power that we have available to us, and one of those is through breath. And to start with, you've got to take you've got to undo the habits of the breath. Everybody's breath is habituated. It's amazing how many people's diaphragm, just the diaphragm, the breathing muscle. It's amazing how many people have tension in the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Just from managing daily emotions or managing the stresses of daily life, because that's the muscle which we push things into the body with or contain emotion. And if we don't, and we have yoga, we have practices in breathwork for releasing the tension in the diaphragm so that you can liberate your diaphragm. And if you can't do that, then your breathing is going to be contained. It's going to be short. Or, people breathe with up in the collarbones or down in the belly, just little tiny breathings. And there's so much available once you start oxygenating the tissues, once you start oxygenating the mind, and cultivating resilience with gas. I mean, the thing is, when you get into breathwork, you're going to be going to high oxygen states if you do something like rebirthing, and you're going to be going into, and that's low carbon dioxide in the gases. But also, when you get to breath holding, which is fabulous, then you're going to go into the opposite end of extreme. You're going to go into high carbon dioxide levels and much lower oxygen states. And when we start to play it though in that range, we cultivate such a huge amount of resilience in the system, and both ends of the spectrum have medical benefits. So when we go into a place where life is feeling a little bit challenged, the system responds. It responds well. We need challenge. We need to stress things. Otherwise, we get complacent, we get comfortable, and we start to senesce.
That's such an interesting point, because it's one of those things that's kind of being brought up more and more in terms of, when we are pushing ourselves, is it kind of dangerous? Is it restricting, if we're exposing ourselves to extreme cold, for example, or we're holding our breath for, however long, or we're doing some other kind of extreme, it kind of automatically pushes our brains, our mindset into, that's dangerous, that's bad for our bodies and bad for what's going on. But what you're saying is actually we need that kind of slight stress to the system in order to kind of grow and evolve. Is that what you're saying, basically?
I think we do. Absolutely, we do. I think. I mean, first of all, you can do it incrementally. You don't have to go straight to an extreme.
Yeah.
There's a balance of the amount of gentleness you go in with and the amount of hardcore approach. So you can go in softly, you can go in pushing, but there's a times for both those energies, and there's a way of working incrementally. And so for example, with pranayama, different yogic practices of breathing. You don't stress the system. You're working with an effortless and incremental growth of capacities over many, many years of practice. So it's a gradual change. And there are times just for pushing it. I mean, a fabulous book to read, by the way, if anyone's interested in it, is Anti-Fragility by Nicholas Taleb Tassim. I think I've got that right. Which is he's going into, he's saying, we're too soft on ourselves, There's a lovely song by Steely Dan. Do you remember Steely Dan? Anybody out there old enough to remember Steely Dan?
Yeah.
And there's a line from that I remember, which goes, "Beware of comfort; it ruins mankind."
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah, yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Some people call me the space cowboy. Some call me the gangster of love. You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. But there's a line there: "Beware of comfort; it ruins mankind." And I think there's something in that. I think there's something about increasing our tolerance and therefore increasing our resilience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise we're
and
getting
that
stuck. Yeah.
we get stuck. We get stuck,
Yeah.
and that and it's not to let that become a habit either.
Mm.
You know, we're exploring the edges of habit creation and habit destruction the whole time, making sure that we don't get stuck somewhere in terms of just becoming a cartoon of ourselves, if you want. You know.
Yeah.
And that's so easy for us in a modern lifestyle. I mean, it's interesting, you know, because I'm aging now. I'm getting on. You know, I'm still bouncing around, but you know, I'm over 60 now. You know, and I grew up in a time where there were very few cars, and absolutely no mobile phones, no computers, and as far as I recall, there weren't any supermarkets. So if
Wow.
you know, I remember growing vegetables with my father on the allotment. Here I'm on my allotment now. Actually, I've been working here with my kids. But you know, we grew allotments. We grew vegetables on the allotment. We grew vegetables in the garden, and we
Yeah.
went down the market. And you know, and we got there were no out of season strawberries, no out of season blueberries, none of that kind of stuff. It's what there was. You know,
Yeah.
blackberry season, strawberries and strawberry season. But I think we've lost so much from our convenience lifestyle. Yeah, and what we can do with ourselves is we can cultivate practices which take us back into exploring the edges, exploring the power that gives us. And if we, you know, there's things like, you know, the rebirthing, the conscious connected breathing, um, is so profound. It really will. It can. There's no guarantees. It can
Do you
take
want
us into
to
a place.
give a brief
Sugar.
explanation for people who don't maybe are not familiar with that?
It's quite a strong practice, and again, the way I teach it is to take people in fairly gently. So we begin quite gently with a small amount of breathing, which is what we'll do, for example, on the first of the evenings that we do. About 20 minutes of breathing we'll do. And what that can do is take you into a place of extreme peace, extreme peace. You know, the kind of peace that, I mean, I did a session in London. I went to the international conference on addiction. There's my little daughter walking on the back there. Look, you can go again, go on in. Like, climb back again, go and wriggle through and wiggle. That's it. Make some faces. Let's say hello. Say hello. Thank you. Right. I was at the conference in London, the International Conference on Addiction Associated Disorders in London with my teacher and mentor, Viola. And we had 40 psychotherapists lie down on the floor doing some breathing. And there was about 50 minutes of breathing. And some of them went back into childlike states of remembering innocence and bliss that they hadn't remembered for some maybe 45 years.
Wow.
You know, so within a short period of time, yeah, you can go back into a place of deep kind of original innocence and beauty and peace. And what that gives you is a reference point for something beyond the stories you've created of who you are, the stories you've created of what the world is about, the meanings you've made up about this, that, and the other that, you know, cause endless grief. And you can undo all of those in a very short period of time. And that gives you one reference experience of that. And then you repeat and you go a bit deeper, and maybe you do a bit more and you go a bit deeper still. It takes you into this, you can take you into a place of what yogis call Satchitananda, which is, if you can imagine going to a place where you understand, because what happens with our senses are ways of eyes, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and the internal senses, particularly thinking, are ways of reducing the vibrational web that everything is into manageable chunks, which enables this organism to survive as it is and to reproduce, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, but it filters it all down so successfully that there's very little of the original power and beauty of that that's left to our mental experience. And what happens when people go into really deep meditation states, and we're talking about years and years of practice, or into conscious connected breathing, is you can come up. Chris Law, I'll answer your question in a minute, love. Okay? I'll answer you in a second. But you can get into this place of Satchitananda, which is being, pure being, unbelievable consciousness and connection with everything as consciousness, and bliss that is beyond anything you could imagine.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, words don't even go there. I mean, I was breathing the first time I did this work with viola, and I was in north of Cyprus, in Turkish Cyprus, and I came out of the experience, and then Muezzin was calling in the local mosque, and in the moment of returning to full consciousness, which takes some time to reintegrate, I understood, I understood why that religion exists, or why all religion exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's such knowingness that's available, that is innate in us, that we lose contact with in our domestication, our habituation. We get in such patterns of thought and feeling that the incredible power that's available in terms of healing or in creating beautiful things in the world, it's all available. There was another time I breathed, and I remembered, coming out of the breathing, it was like the amount of power, I mean, sheer power that was flooding through my body and through my fingertips. It was like I had to kind of contain it. My whole body was shaking with this power. And it's like, well, that's what the creative force of the universe is like.
Yeah.
People call it prana shakti, or, ma shakti, whatever names. But that's what the creative force of the universe is like. This universe is creative power. Just imagine the kind of force it takes to create a whole universe.
Yeah.
And we're not separate from that. This is it. Right. Absolutely. Now, this is it. This is it doing us.
Yeah.
And when we touch in so deeply into that, anything's possible.
That's certainly my experience, and I definitely don't have as many years experience as you do, but that's just touching that and beginning to touch that kind of space is so incredible. Even just knowing that there's more beyond,
Yeah.
So one of the earlier questions, Deborah asked, she says she's under a lot of stress at the moment, and she's leaving her job, and as she's working out her notice, so she's having some health problems. So she's like, her eczema's flaring up, and she's really just looking for some way of helping her get through the next few weeks. So is that something that the breath work you do can help with?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to an extreme level of deep kind of realization there. And also, I mean, the side effects of doing really, or the benefits of doing really simple practice are immense.
Yes. Yeah.
I give people short practices to do, like, 5-minute practices. There's one practice I do, which is a kind of soothing breath, which I give, there are various different practices we can work with to give kind of soothing breath and that kind of thing. And then you can have benefit from that within 9 breaths.
Yeah.
If you can come to Exeter, I will teach you how to manage your system so successfully. All right, that you will forget that you were ever ill.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, it is so available. I'm working with a range of people at the moment. I'm working with, I do occasional work with, I teach postgraduate psychiatrists, and I work with a group of psychiatrists as well, because they don't have the breath background and the body-based embodiment background and the meditation and mindfulness background that I have. I'm not a psychiatrist or a doctor, but I have that background in practice. So, we've done some interventions going into schools and working with young teenagers, for example, and that, and the youngsters have no idea how their mind works. They haven't, and we had comments from some people that within 5 minutes of breathing, they're beginning to understand the relationship between breath and mind, and how you can reduce, it is, isn't it? How you can reduce stress so successfully. And of course, these youngsters are totally stressed. They're managing social media and exams and life crises and hormones and everything all at once. It's just immense.
Just being a teenager,
just being a teenager, in the modern world. So I think getting the breath work, out there, and mindfulness is beyond mindfulness. Really, mindfulness is amazing. I'm a mindfulness practitioner as well. I've worked with Mindfulness UK, based down in Taunton, and they're great. And it's a great practice, and they're great people, and it does great work in the world. But you've got to understand mindfulness from its dharmic roots. So mindfulness as a dharmic practice was a way. It's almost like a first aid practice of calling you back into presence. So it's it is a particular practice, right? But there are practices, then are also other practices of reaching optimal flow and optimal power.
Yeah.
And that's where the breathwork is taking us into. It's not just paying attention to the breath, that is brilliant and it's magical. And we could be doing that all day long. But it's also, there are ways of touching into something so profound and beautiful and revolutionary, or evolutionary if you prefer, and healing. Healing, so whatever you've definitely got, so if you've got skin stuff, I mean, you can work with the breath with that. Digestive stuff we can work with, and digestive stuff, skin stuff, difficulty sleeping, these kind of things are largely a result of the stressful lifestyle we live these days.
I was going to say, so much of it is just all tied down to that kind of being out of balance and having the nervous system kind of being in a reactive mode. So
yes, that's it. And these days, what happens is we don't tend to hang out in little family groups in some savannah somewhere where it's nice and hot and sunny and there's lots of things to eat, and then just sleep a lot and rest a lot and play a lot. Our lifestyles tend to be moving from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and that doesn't give our activated systems time to come out of those stress cascades. And so what we end up doing is we end up living with a constant stream of internal inflammation in the system. And that ends up causing problems. It causes problems in your intestines or on your skin or in your breathing or in your sleeping. And that's what it does. And so having a strategy to pull yourself out of that and take yourself into a deep place of relaxation, which you can do actually easily when you know how to, we can resolve those. And that doesn't accumulate in the system,
So coming back to Chris's question, he asked, how would a beginner get started? He says, just managing the breath, like with simple meditation. So how would a beginner kind of go about this? Where would they start?
Let's start at, how many people have we got there listening? Okay, just tune in for a second. It's really simple. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to advise you to do is to put the tip of the tongue behind your top teeth, and this we'll do on the weekend in Exeter. Put the tip of the tongue up behind the top teeth there. Let's up behind there. Let it rest really softly, like it's just kissing there. Yeah. And when you do that, let your jaw relax, so your lips are really soft together. Yeah. Like you're kissing the air. And put a gentle smile on, a very gentle smile. Don't get too serious about it. Yeah, just a little smile. Right. Right. And then you're going to spread the nostrils as you breathe in. You take a slow in breath. So imagine you're a wolf. Imagine you're a wolf in the forest or in the and you're smelling the air. We human beings tend not to do that very much. We don't use our nasal passages very much. We've lost our vomeronasal organ, which other mammals have. But you can get this spread here gently. And oftentimes in the beginning when people do that, they tend to snarl. Okay, and over practice, over time, you lose the snarl because you separate out those muscles which you haven't used for a long time. So these ones on the side here, we tend not to use for a long time. Okay. Come and show it. Come here and show us. Come here. She's doing it.
Oh,
come
wow.
We need some. That was amazing, Imo. Come and show the people how to do it. Everybody's watching. Come on, you're on Star. Come on and show people how to do that nose thing. Just do it. If you don't do it, I'll send you packing. Okay, come on. Okay, I'll do it. Come on then, show people. You've got to spread your nostrils wide like a wolf. Well done. Go and let them collapse now. Shut them down, and then do it again. Yeah, you feel it? You can switch those muscles on. Now, when you do that, when you get those muscles working like that,
thank you.
What it does, it lifts. Thank you, Emma, by the way. It lifts. Don't push your headphones off, darling. Gabriel, that's not on. You can't do that, darling. Let's go. Sorry, lovely. He's trying to turn you off.
Oh, bless him.
Anyway, what was I saying? If you can get that breath lifting like that, it goes up through the upper passageway. It goes through the upper passageways. It goes through the upper passageways. Kathleen, can you take him a minute? He's just being a pest here. I need to talk here. It goes through the upper passageways, okay? And what you get then is you get much more intake of energy, and you can have almost endless energy if you breathe like that.
Yeah.
If you slow the breath. There's more to it. I can teach you how to use the intrinsic muscle, which is muscles of the pelvic floor, the muscles of the belly, and get everything else working. And what you get is you get an almost infinite amount of energy. It's incredible how much energy you can have. You're going to have 50% less stress, guaranteed, maybe even 70% less stress, and you get 30 to 50% more done in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievably. And that was just a basic touch, and it's unbelievable what you can do. And it's so simple and so available. And that's the thing. And it's like, I don't know why everybody doesn't know this, and we kind of need to. So I just want to share it out there and get it out, because it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
There's a little thing.
Yeah, and even just doing that, you can feel the brain filling up with oxygen as well. It's just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do on the evening, and if you can come to Exeter, come, because we're going to do somewhere between, on the first evening, we're going to have a look at a little bit of what goes on, talk about it a little bit, and we're going to do about 6 to 9 different practices, and have time to feel them all, work out which ones work for you and why, and take them away with you. So you've got stuff you can take away after the first night.
Yeah.
The second session.
Oh, go on.
Sorry.
No, so Christopher is coming to Exeter. And he's doing a couple of workshops in Exeter on the 29th of June and the 6th of July, where you can experience this stuff firsthand for yourself. And like he just said, he's going to go, start to introduce you to it, start to go deeper, and just experience it for yourself, because that's the only way to do it, really. Yeah.
That's the only way to do it. Experience is it. I mean, there's a lovely Chinese proverb that says, knowing is doing. Knowing is doing. It's behavior. So it's not about, cognitive maps are great. They're a good beginning, getting the rationalization, that kind of thing. And they can work. If it works well, it's an inspiration to practice. But ultimately it's doing it. And it's the direct experience you get from practicing that teaches you, and from which you really learn. And then you've got to embody that and live it in your life. And that's, so the second session we're going to do is going to be just 3 practices, and we've got, how many hours is it? We've got a 3-hour session, is it? No, isn't it?
3.5, I think. Yeah.
3.5 hours, fantastic. So we're going to have plenty of time to go really, really deep with the practices, and it's great. You can, it's great. I mean, that'll do for now. I think that's what I want to say. But if you can come. It's going to be amazing. That's pretty much promised. But
So thank you so much for sharing that little snippet, and definitely. So we're going to be having those 2 workshops, as I say, on the 29th of June in the evening, and on the 6th of July. And I'll pop the link below so that you can check those out. They're on my Facebook events on my events on the Facebook page, and I think Christopher has them as well on his page.
That's right.
Yeah. And if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to take them, and I'm sure we can do maybe another Q&A, or I'm sure sort something out.
I mean, there's so many things I didn't mention, like, the powerful effects of rejuvenation, bringing vitality to your system. Rejuvenation is incredible. We want longevity, and we want quality of life as we age. And, good breath work is one of the key tools for that.
Yeah.
Without shadow of a doubt.
And just, I'd love to know, because we're all so short of time, and I think that people, they worry about adding more things to their day, so they've got to move, they've got to eat right and drink right, and all the rest of it. So what would you say if somebody added in a breathwork practice? How long would they spend on that per day to see results?
To see immediate results, if you do 3 short 5-minute practices, that's enough.
Yeah.
It's that easy. I was given a practice by one of my teachers around about 30 years ago. And she gave me a practice, which is a practice from a tantric teacher called Abhinav Gupta from Kashmir Shadi School. And the practice, so she gave me a couple of practices. Well, one of the practices was simply to pay attention to the breath 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, of course, that I started to do that. And of course, 20 years later, that's what happens all the time. So now there's not a moment of my day that goes by where there is not awareness of the breath.
Yeah.
Right. So you start with 5 minutes 3 times a day, and that has immediate benefit. And then as you feel the immediate benefit, you start to do it for 10 minutes 3 times a day, and that's half an hour.
Yeah.
And you can do it as you're walking, as somebody would say, walking in nature. You can pay attention to the breath, and you can work with qualities of breath, which again I show at the weekend to show you things to play with and explore. Yeah, and you know, it's the beginning, and you start small. You start, like with all these things, you start small. You know?
Yeah, wonderful. I think we're so keen to kind of have, you know, like one major practice. So for example, I know a lot of people are really into the Wim Hof method.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about that, or about, you know, kind of your relationship to the breath versus something like that?
Wim Hof's method is great. It's really good. Yeah, it's good stuff, and it works really, really well for Wim. All right, and it is also limited because it's just one thing, and it's one part of a whole catalogue of breath work we can work with.
Yeah.
I'm not a great fan of the way Wim does breath holding. It's a bit clumsy.
Yeah.
I think the gasping that people do at the end of a breath holding is firing up the brain stem too much, and that's not the plan. The aim is to train the brain stem, and to do that you take a conscious, clear, relaxed inhale at the end of breath holding. So I don't think that's taught very well, but I mean, it works really, really well for Wim, because obviously he's, you know, climbed ice mountains and done all sorts of things like that, and it works for him. His cold exposure and that breathing practice together works really well. One of the teachers I worked with is a guy called Stig Severinsen, who did a 22-minute and 10-second breath hold, and the longest ice swim ever underneath ice with one breath hold. You know, I think he doubled Wim's record. So there's, you know, there's competition in the breath world, but it's
definitely.
You know, there are people who do amazing things, basically deep dives and all sorts of things with the resilience in their system, and there are people who have chronic diseases and they transform them with breath work. I've got to stop in a minute, guys.
Yeah.
I've got to take these children home. You know, I've got to get these guys. Come say hello.
Poo.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Christopher. I think this has been a great introduction, and it's really given us a lot of, you know, some stuff to take away, to think about, and even just to practice for ourselves. And absolutely, really looking forward to having you in Exeter later on this summer.
Yep, that's right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited about coming down.
Cool.
It's going to be great.
So where can we find?
It's a wild world here.
Where can people find you online? Just briefly.
You can find me online at www.christophergladwell.com. That's my website. It's a bit messy at the moment because it's being reconstructed at the moment, in the process of being rebuilt.
Sure.
So it sometimes is a bit like error 404 at the moment, which when you can't find a page.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's up there, christophergladwell.com. You can find me on my Facebook page. You've got Chris Gladwell. I think it's Chris Gladwell Yoga. You'll find me. Put Christopher Gladwell and you'll find me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all over the internet.
Fabulous. Okay, and I'll pop that link as well to the workshop. So I'm going to let you go for now. Everybody's saying thank you.
Thank you ever so much.
Bye,
thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you. Bye-bye now.
And you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.